Hi friends, this is Terry Squires with today's Nashville. This is Faith. I sat down with Rudy Gatlin, the youngest of the Gatlin brothers, and I tell you, we had so much fun. You won't want to miss his episode. When you don't know which way to go, follow His word. His light will guide you. Where is God leading you? Singer, songwriter, actor, Grand Ole Opry member, Rudy Gatlin is the youngest brother of the Gatlin brothers, and he has traveled the world, won Grammy Awards, has appeared on hundreds of television shows, played for presidents, and has achieved multiple #1 hits. Today, one of his greatest passions has nothing to do with music. This is his story. This is today's Nashville. This is Faith. Rudy Gatlin.
Yes, ma'am.
The youngest of the Gatlin brothers. Welcome to today's Nashville. What an honor and blessing.
Well, thank you. I hope you can say the same when we're through. You might be saying, why did we ask him? Who was thinking that
I was
might
so
be a good
excited
idea?
when you were going to come on. What was it like growing up being the youngest Gatlin brother?
Oh, it was tough. 2 older brothers. At times it was tough. But, you know, they picked on me a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. And then we had a younger sister. We really picked on her. No, we didn't either. No, we didn't pick on her because, you know, Dad would not put up with that. Leave your little sister alone. So I got the brunt of it. But normal childhood growing up in Odessa, Texas.
Normal. You're on your 70th year.
And now.
And I know how old you are. And you've been singing since the age of what?
2.
2.
I was 2.5. Steve was 4, almost 5. Larry was 6, almost 7. But 2, 4, and 6 just kind of rolls off the tongue a lot.
How did they even start?
Mom and Dad took us to gospel concerts, the Blackwood Brothers, the Statesmen Quartet, those gospel groups. Buy the records, come home, put them on the hi-fi, and we just started, we could hear it and we could sing it. Kids can do that. You know, they may not talk too much. Of course, we might have been talking a lot then, but sometimes kids don't say much. Get them in front of a TV program that has a little jingle on it, or a cartoon character, or, you know, we did the same thing. TV was in its infant stage, but they had little cartoon shows, and we could sing along with the theme songs to those shows. And then Mom would hop up on the piano, we'd listen to the records, she'd play them, and we just started singing. God said, y'all sing. That's just simple as I can make it.
When did she know that you were ready to go on stage or at churches? And
early. We already had some cowboy outfits. So we started singing even before March the 8th of 1955. That's when we won a little talent show in Abilene, Texas, Cavalcade of Talent. There were a couple of different divisions, and we were in the juvenile division. There was a high school, college. Well, we were the only ones in the 2, 4, and 6 division, but hey, a win is a win. Yeah. And we won our division. I should have brought the trophy. Well, darn. Why am I looking around here as if the trophy is going to show up? So we went back to Abilene a couple of weeks ago, March the 8th of 2025, exactly 70 years to the day that we won that little talent show. And had a great time, had a wonderful time in Abilene. And we just took off from there. We'd sing at hog callings and taffy pools and
were you busy
church socials.
From that on?
Well, quite a bit. Dad moved to Odessa. He was in the oil business. He was a roughneck and a driller and a tool pusher. When you say you're in the oil business, oh, you own it? No, we drill it. He was a driller. Roughneck, the guy that worked out there on the platform, the rig floor. And the Permian Basin hit. Are you watching the show Landman?
I'm not.
Well, if you see some of the trailers for it, with Billy Bob Thornton.
Right, I've
That's
seen part of
taped in Midland, 20 miles from Odessa.
Okay.
That is it. That's our hometown. Those pump jacks, and that's the oil patch. And the play was big enough to keep Dad out there, although he had moved around following the rigs. The rig is in Big Spring, or the rig's in Ashburn or Wichita. He would go, get the crew and go to the rig. And that's what we do today. I've got to get the crew, get our tools, and go to Myrtle Beach this weekend. That's where the rig is, in Myrtle Beach. And then it'll be in Poughkeepsie. And Dad understood that when I explained it to him like that.
So you've been touring for almost 70 years. What was it like growing up in those early years, teen years? Did you ever think that maybe this wasn't what you wanted to do?
Never.
Never.
We didn't know how we were going to do it, but we had watched TV, Andy Williams' show that had the Osmonds on it, and we'd go, we can do that. I hate those guys. From an early age, I just couldn't stand the Osmonds or those family groups. But see, they were in L.A. singing at Six Flags, Knott's Berry Farm, or some amusement park out there in L.A. And Andy just happened to see them and said, get them on my show. The rest is history. And we're stuck in Odessa. You know, Andy's not going to come through Odessa and discover us. But we always knew that, whoa, wouldn't that be great to do this one day?
When were you discovered? When was that time when you remember it's like, oh, this is it, we're on our way?
Well, Dottie West brought Larry to Nashville. Heard him sing, write some songs in Vegas when he was with the Imperials, who were doing the vocal backup for Elvis. Then they finished that show, went across the street to the Landmark, Jimmy Dean, Dottie West show, and he was backstage writing some songs. And, you look enough like Mickey Newberry, do you write songs? Well, I've written a few. He sent her a tape, she sent him a plane ticket. And Janice and Larry moved shortly thereafter. We came a couple of months later, recorded some things at Dottie's house on a little reel-to-reel tape recorder. It finally made its way to Fred Foster, who was at Monument Records, owned Monument Records, who produced all the Orbison stuff, produced the Christofferson stuff, did some Dolly Parton stuff when she was first on Monument.
So what happened when you came to Nashville?
I came here to work with Tammy Wynette. That's another great story. That's one of the chapters of my book, how I got that job with Tammy. Great story.
Well, let's hear it.
Well, let me finish this thought.
All right.
And we cut Broken Lady in the fall of '75, won a Grammy for '76, Song of the Year. And we knew, okay, we're getting closer. And then some things started going sideways with Tammy's deal. June of '76, left Tammy, kicked it off, and started cutting records and touring profusely.
Took off.
Yeah. And that's when we knew we're on our way.
We're going to talk about Tammy Wynette, some of your other famous friends, and your faith.
Okay.
When we come back. Rudy, what was it like to work with Tammy Wynette?
Oh, it was a wonderful experience. Long story short, Larry called one day. I was in Odessa, Texas, substitute teaching for $22 a day back in 1975. Donna and Tim had just left the Blackwood Singers. Larry called and said, hey, Charlie Price is looking for some singers. And I left the next day. You and Donna and Tim, her husband, hook up and go try it for Charlie. A couple of weeks later, they didn't know what they were going to do. I think it was Dave and Sugar that they didn't know whether they were leaving or going to stay or what. And Jack Johnson kept, call me next week, call me next week. Finally, oh, good Lord, Jack, I need a job. We need to try out, come on, and we can sing. And he said, oh, well, Tammy's looking for some singers. Give me her number. I called her number, it was her manager. Larry called later that night and said, you're going to Tammy's tomorrow to try out because evidently Shorty Lavender, her agent, called Tammy. Tammy said, Gatlin. Larry had already been here 3 or 4 or 5 years. And we'd been here a little bit, like I said, cutting some records. And we went over there and auditioned for Tammy, got the job, and did oohs and ahs with her for a year.
But you've been all over. You've played for presidents. Which is the most memorable president that you played for?
Oh, good Lord. President George Herbert Walker Bush, 41, and his son, President George W. Bush, 43. We call him 41, 43. We've done some stuff for Reagan, campaigned for Jimmy Carter a long time ago in the 70s when we weren't very political, and I think we were, I don't know, I don't remember being too much of a Republican or Democrat or what. And Jimmy Carter was a good man, and subsequently found out that Gerald Ford, President Ford, was a good man. I, like a lot of people, thought, well, maybe we needed a new, fresh start from that Watergate stuff and Ford and Nixon and all that. So we voted for Carter. And then 4 years later, I guess we kind of saw the light and said, no, we're more in line with this side over here. And campaigned with him, and then subsequently campaigned for all the other Republican candidates.
Presidents, music artists. You told me you almost went down in a plane.
With Johnny and June Cash.
Tell me about
That's one of the stories. We had done the Pocono racetrack, and we were flying back from Pocono to Pittsburgh or something, and then to Nashville. I guess it was the Pittsburgh airport or some other airport, and it was socked in, and I was waking up about that time because I'd been up all night with some friends or something. And what's going on? Everybody's, ah! And the plane was coming in like this, but the runway went like this. And he tried to turn it left and land it. It didn't work, so he took off again. And June was, oh, John, don't let him land this plane. John, go up there and stop him. John, don't let him. Well, June, I know I'm Johnny Cash, but knock, knock, knock. Hey, guys, could y'all not land this plane? So, but they circled, landed, and we all got off the plane. I mean, if that guy if it had hit that wing a little bit harder on the, when he was trying to straighten it up to land, we could have been cartwheeling. And Larry says we hit the tire and took off the left tire, but if that left wing hits a little harder on that grass, it's grass and this runway, and we're cartwheeling. Till to this day, we might still be cartwheeling. But we got off the plane, went in the lobby area there, and June said, I can't get back on this plane. John, please get us a bus or something. I can't get back on that plane, June. Well, Marshall, that's Marshall Grant, is go get us a bus, son.
Did he?
Went and got a 40-passenger bus. We all hopped on the bus and headed to Nashville because he had some American oil commercials to tape, and he needed to get back to Nashville, And I'll never forget it. We pulled off the side of the road, and there was a chicken shack out in the middle somewhere. He pulled out a $100 bill and said, Marshall, go get us some chicken, son. And I went, he just pulled out a $100 bill. Good gosh almighty, I'd never seen a $100 bill. Just pulled it out.
How old were you at that?
Well, I was 22, but we didn't go down the plane crash, obviously. But very thankful that we didn't. And John and June were, whew, merciful heavens.
Yes. Tell me about your faith.
Where do we begin?
How old were you when you gave your life to the Lord?
I've always known. I don't remember a certain date. And I subsequently had to do it a few more. Okay, I'm giving it over to you again. I'm sorry. Several times through my life, but I don't remember a day when I was 6 or 7 or 8.
I think people get caught up in that because I'm kind of the same way. It was a process with me. But people are like, what date were you? And it's like, I don't really have, I know approximately. So that's the way it happened with you.
We just always known it. Pentecostal Bethel Assembly of God Church, 42nd and McKnight in Odessa, Texas. It's still there. And that preacher still preaches the word every Sunday. Whew. Boy, does he ever.
Wow.
And his wife's over there on the keyboard, the piano playing, and he's playing guitar and singing, and there may be 12 people in the... Attendance has kind of waned a little bit. But boy, he preaches it every Sunday morning, every Sunday night, and Wednesday night. That's the Assembly of God way.
Was there ever a time where you questioned your faith, or?
No, not really. I strayed. And we like to say, there was a time when we weren't exactly living at the foot of the cross. It's the way we put it.
Was it while you were touring? Or?
Oh, yes. You get caught up, you're young, you're cutting hit records, you're singing on Johnny Carson, you're single, you're having a big time, the world is your oyster. Everything's turning to gold, so to speak. Everything you touch is wonderful. Pretty heady stuff. And you get carried away in
the fame.
And the frivolity and the fun of it all. I did.
Well, it's been 70 years, and you're going back. You're still doing it. We're going to talk about what God and where God is leading you when you come back. Rudy, you've been on the road for 70 years. You've met a lot of people. You're getting ready to write a book. Who is somebody in your life that you've met? You've met a lot of the who's who's.
Yeah.
You can name a few if you want. You can name drop, but who is somebody that really stands out, that just really impressed you or just, inspired you?
I'll think of all of them. There are so many. For some reason, Pat Summerall comes to mind, the great announcer, sports announcer for CBS. When we sobered up, we helped Pat sober up. And then he helped Mickey Mantle sober up, and countless others. I haven't had a drink in 40 years, all day today and for the last 40 years. Thank you. Thank you.
It's awesome.
Of course, I couldn't have done it without the drugs, but hey, I'm sorry. Yeah, I had a drug problem too. I ran out.
So
let that settle. You ran out? What? Yeah, but no, 40 years of no.
40 years.
No, and thanks to the good Lord and a program of recovery and great friends and family. Yes.
How was that? How did that affect your life?
Oh my Lord!
All during tour and everything.
It was what?
Was it where you were touring and?
Yes, it was. We've been touring and singing, and it's, there have been gaps in the schedule here and there, but and we took a little gap there to get cleaned up, and it was well documented. Larry's stay out at the care unit in California.
We talked about that.
Right. We went out for Family Week. Family Week. Oh, that was so much fun. I'd rather be dragged through cactus naked than have to do that again. I would. I mean, it was very good for the family. We got to sit across from Larry, and everybody got to sit across from Larry, family members and friends, and just let it out. Oh! I don't know if he said anything about that. But
no, I don't.
Him and Dad, him and Mom, oh my gosh. And it was good. And then Larry told on me, said, yeah, Rudy's got a problem too, while we were out there. Because I thought we were just abusers, not alcoholics and drug addicts.
When did you realize you had a problem?
Out there. He told on me, and I went and talked to Dr. Perst, the Yugoslavian drunk doctor, Dr. Joseph Perst, who set up the Betty Ford Clinic and a bunch of other treatment facilities. He asked me a couple of questions, and I went home and realized it. Or I went to the hotel. We were out there for 4 or 5 days. Had all this literature on the bed, and God, what is all this? God help me, please, I understand this. And he did. In an instant, I can't stop. I didn't do it every day. I wasn't a bum. I still had all my stuff, but I couldn't stop doing what I was doing. You're addicted to anything you can't stop doing, whether it's every day or once a week, or if you've tried to stop and you can't. I'm addicted to chocolate. Okay, well, so I don't have chocolate every day, but once a week or whenever, but I'm not going to ever get arrested for driving under the influence of chocolate, and it's not going to ruin my life. Well, it could. I mean, it could, but.
When was that time? Do you remember the time when it's just like, I'm done, I'm over it, and the Lord took it away?
Well, right then and there, when I finally realized what addiction was, I went, oh, I get it. I'm a high bottom drunk. They have a term for it in our little recovery program. It's a lot of people dig deeper, really a lot deeper, but I quit up here, and glad I did, and thanks to the good Lord, and like I said, family and friends and program of recovery. We're here to talk about it 40 years later.
Tell me about your book.
Well, it's a collection of stories, just like I shared with you, the John and June story. And we had several other John and June stories about the time that Larry was over at John and June's house, and Marty Klein was there, John's agent for APA, Nashville, or New York and LA, and they subsequently had an office in Nashville. He said, if you ever need representation, let me know. We did, later when we started having hit records. And Marty was able to call Fred DeCordova at the Tonight Show and say, hey, these boys need to be on Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. And we were. We were on there. When a lot of other, we were new and had a few hit records, but, they needed to check you out a little bit more before. But Marty they trusted him enough to know. And once we hit Carson.
You were on every place.
Just about. I tell people that we did the early morning, the afternoon shows when we'd go to LA, and then we'd do Carson at night. And at one time, there was only one, you're too young to remember, there was only one entertainment show on TV at night, and that was Carson.
Now, I remember Carson. I remember Carson. Yeah.
So when you did your bit, your song, talk about your movie, a comedian, they'll all pay homage to Johnny. You were the only music on TV. Think about that. There was ABC, NBC, CBS, and you were the only music on TV anywhere. That's 40 million eyeballs watching. That helped, because not all of them were listening to country music.
What year was that?
78, 79. I think Larry had gone and done it a couple times by himself, but did not go to the couch. And then all the gold hit.
See, that's when I started listening to the Gatlin Brothers. It was in the 80s. Yeah.
That was late 70s, 78, 79, 80s. Okay. Then right after that, we had Midnight Choir. That's another story. Will they have Mogan David in heaven? The song about the drunks, That was right after all the gold. Will they have Mogan David in heaven? Dear Lord, we'd all like to know. Will they have Mogan David in heaven? Sweet Jesus. If they don't, who the hell wants to go? What? Yeah. Great story about the drunks and winos lining up to get into the mission. Hear a little preaching, do a little singing, get saved for the third time this week. A bowl of soup later, pat on the back, they're back on the street. Then a buddy he finds a bottle of heaven, passes around what means everything to them.
Yes.
A bottle for four, thank God someone scored. And now the Midnight Choir starts to sing. Will they have Mogan? We did it like that on the record, like we were drunk. In fact, we went and got some MD 2020 and had some at lunch and came back and kind of, half inebriated. This was a long time ago, before we realized we were alcoholics and drug addicts, and did it like that. I thought this was going to be a big record. It's going to be bigger than all the gold. Great story, sing along, great, wrong, big record. Larry wrote the song, we were in Toronto. He and our drummer were out running around the park in downtown Toronto, saw some winos on the bench. They went over there and turned the old boy over, cleaned him up a little bit, stuck 20 in his pocket, and Larry got the idea for the Midnight Choir, the song. He went back and wrote it. I guess he wrote it in Nashville. But we released it. We were the hottest thing in country music. Now you think about it. All the gold went from 8 to number 1 in Billboard. It didn't go 8, 7, 5, 4 every week. It went 8 to number 1. We were hot. Hottest things in country music, okay? One day we were at our office and a guy called, our sound guy, have you heard Kenny Rogers' new record? No. Go listen to it. Called Frank Mull, right next door. Frank came over with the record, and we went, oh my God. It was this little song about, promise me, son, not to do the things I've done. Walk away from trouble if you can. Coward of the county.
Yes.
Remember the lyrics?
Yes, I do.
What were their names? Those 3 Gatlin boys came calling. And They had their way with that little Becky. Tommy's girlfriend, the song was Becky. That's where they, oh my God, that's Becky Walker, and they're singing about who the hell wants to go, and they raped that girl. And that's what they did in the song. They raped the girl, and then Tommy went in and blew him away. Okay, that's the song. But his dad was saying, promise me, son, not to do the things I've done. Walk away from trouble if you can. Well, he didn't. Rightly so, who knows? Well, so we're going through pure hell, and the record went to 30, and they pulled it. There used to be an FCC, Federal Communications Commission, rule that if they have enough complaints at the radio station, you got to pull the record. And the people were calling in. In fact, one station from Little Rock, when they had radio stations and houses, we're looking out the blinds, and in our front yard, they're having a record burning party of your records and stuff. Here in the cultural center of Little Rock, of the universe, Little Rock, Arkansas. So we're going through hell with that song. And guess what? The #1 song in the country was Coward of the County. A song about gang rape and triple murder. Go figure. And our song is about a bunch of drunks trying to talk to God in their drunken stupor. Mr. Reisner at the downtown Nashville mission got hot. Boy, he got hot. Our attorney and Larry went downtown to have a little meeting with him, tried to explain. And he explained it to the man who sees this every day. And he still wasn't convinced that, We stopped doing it because and I set this whole story up by saying, what's your most requested song? Midnight Choir. I should have prefaced the story, but I do that. Invariably, someone will holler up, Midnight Choir, Mogan David, and we'll do a little bit of it. So it didn't do much. It didn't do anything on the charts. It didn't sell many records. That's back when we sold records. But cards and letters started pouring in from all over the country to the Union missions in all over the country. And inside those envelopes were checks and little notes. Thank you for shedding some light on our plight here in Seattle. So it did a world of good for those Union missions. So we don't apologize one bit for the record, for the song, and most certainly for what it did for a lot of folks around the country. We've had guys come up to us and say, thank you for that song. I used to be in the Midnight Choir. Whoa, get you some of that. Get you some of that. Yeah.
Rudy, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're such a blessing.
Well, yeah, it's a beautiful day out, and I've had about all this. I got to go play golf. I'll see y'all.
Thank you.
Okay, that was great. Now turn the tape machine on.
I've got to close.
That happened one time.
Thank you, Rudy.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
My friend, are you struggling with addiction or substance abuse? The Lord is right in front of you. Lay it down at His feet. Trust Him to take care of it. This is today's Nashville. This is faith.
Cornerstone Television wishes to thank all our faithful viewers whose consistent prayers and financial support have made this program possible.